Exceptional Randos show is produced live in Sunroom Studios' Base Capsule and in partnership with KLST 103.5, RadioCallisti.org. Remember to catch our Exceptional Randos live stream on YouTube every Sunday between 2 and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have a story, idea, or question that you would like to share, we want to hear from you. Thanks for listening.
Wow, that was random. Exceptional Radio.
Good afternoon. It's the end of January, and it's starting to feel like a different year. The news is less troubled, it seems, and there's some interesting sci-fi on the horizon. Resident Alien has piqued my interests. What else? It's so sloppy. I'm just glad it's not turning to ice.
Yeah, we have the slushy waves on Cape Cod. We were just talking a little bit ago about how it's staying light longer. So it feels like we were in a tunnel for a while. At least I feel like I was in a tunnel for a while. Just going through the bad news, the news cycle being extra negative, extra stressful, not really paying too much attention to. I was trying not to pay too much attention to the news on a daily basis because it's just like so nightmarish there for a while. And now, it also goes to show how people who are even attuned, and I like to think that I'm attuned to like the moods of the nation if I actually pay attention, if I put my ear to the ground. And even if I feel like I'm aware of what's going on, I can still be influenced by the news cycle, by the imagery, by the music that they use in the news, by the people talking. I mean, it's like this constant barrage of people speaking in this very declarative, assertive tone of voice, and it makes it sound like everything they're saying is like extra true and important. But if I listen to things like CNN on a regular basis, it gets so tiring because everything becomes breaking news. It's like the second you come back from a commercial break, it's like we have breaking news. It's the same thing we were just talking about. And I just want to let you know that this is what we're thinking about right now. And this is why we're thinking about it. And nothing's happened to confirm that what we're thinking about is true, but you better treat it like it's true, because this aligns with, the political leanings of the organizations that are funding our group and the think tanks that we refer to. So that gets extra frustrating and extra tiring. And I feel like the predisposition for me to feel like extra depressed if I watch too much news, just demonstrates
It's so urgent.
how easily tired I am by it.
There's just such an intense level of urgency with so much of the news anymore. Wouldn't it be nice if we had like a calm, boring day and like nothing happened? Would people lose their minds if that happened?
I don't think that's possible, though.
Yeah.
I think the issue is the world, like the United States, is not actually better. Just because Joe Biden's there, it's not actually better. There's not, like, they haven't stopped deporting people. There's still kids in cages.
Yep.
Like, white people are going to indigenous communities and skipping the lines to get vaccinations. There's a bunch of horrible shit happening. But it's weird to see everybody like give themselves an emotional break because Trump's out of office now. Like, oh, we did it. It's over. Like,
It's not over.
everything's better now. What the fuck was that? No idea.
Something explode?
But yeah, nothing has actually changed. There's the $1,400 or $2,000
Stimulus hasn't happened yet.
stimulus hasn't gone out. Businesses are still shutting down. They're still talking about opening up of schools. The shooting epidemic never stopped before the pandemic started. So there's all these things that we haven't actually addressed, and we're just trying to sort of brush it off as if now, oh shit, Biden's here. We can have great news cycles with like the presidential dog. Let's see what the presidential dog's up to now. Woof woof. They put out an actual fucking presidential dog news press release where I'm like,
They've got like multiple presidential animals this time around.
Yeah, I think they have two, right? They have two German Shepherds.
they put out a fucking press release.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. Like, as if the dog is talking. This is fucking. This is detached from reality. When you have like people dying, still the fucking worst COVID numbers yet. Over 162,000 new cases in a day or something.
Well, we had 200,000 a couple weeks after Thanksgiving. We broke 200,000 a day.
Yeah, and it's like that hasn't slowed down. So
No.
this idea of nothing's actually changed, and that's what's so weird to me is seeing the people on the left. I guess it's really center left. Act as if they can like breathe a sigh of relief now that Trump is gone. And this to me, if people are doing that, it's a sign that their lives weren't actually affected by Trump in the first place, and they were just pretending to, oh, my life is so much worse. Is it? All the people that were pretending that
The feigned
they didn't get
rage.
fucking deported, they weren't the ones having their fucking kids put in cages. And I get that it's good to be empathetic about it, but that shit is still happening. So if those people are acting like, oh, now Trump's gone, we can all breathe a sigh of relief. Well, guess what? Those people didn't fucking understand what was happening. The Keystone Pipeline, yeah, Biden said is shut down, but there's like a fucking 1,000 other pipelines that still need to be shut down, not just that
Well,
one.
not just that, but it leaked, and it still ended up ruining the space that they were trying to prevent from ruining.
Is there any actual presence in the center left that does remember, that doesn't have the goldfish memory, that actually would, reach out to their representatives and say, hey, listen, things haven't gotten any better?
No, because it was immediately, oh, let's reach across the aisle and seek unity, as if we weren't fucking just dealing with actual Nazis. These people were calling for unity with fucking Nazis. Yeah. It's like the goldfish memory in full effect. And that's where, to me,
I think we're doing goldfish an injustice because they can survive turbulent waters and, transitions from habitats to completely synthetic environments. I don't think humans can do that quite as well. I mean, we're larger and we have, you can't see my air quotes, but we have intelligence. But we also actively destroy our environment and kill each other over water and food.
We also have elected representatives who believe that minorities use space lasers to start wildfires.
Yeah, those people can vote.
Those people can vote and they can influence policy, and they're also in charge now of influencing and creating policy for education and
she's a big Q nut too.
Yeah, it's insane. But is it really insane anymore? Like to understand that exists?
What, giant space lasers?
I think it's just terrible that person got into power to begin with. But at the same time, it's like, well, what did we really expect? I mean, so many people just let this happen. We just let it happen.
I mean, here's how you can tell the United States is no longer what we would call a first world country in our imperialist language. When we are congratulating ourselves for doing normal shit, like having an inauguration without a fucking insurrection, that's how you know we've become a fucking banana republic. This country has officially devolved into developing status because now we're happy if we can just have a fucking inauguration. That is proof that this country, I mean, it was always broken. It was always a lie. It was always exploitative theft in every capacity of the economy. There was never anything of actual value that this country created that it didn't steal. So in that context, this was always coming, in the sense of what we're seeing with GameStop, what we're seeing with Robin Hood stepping in and feeling that lore to this. Okay, this is
that shit pisses me off too.
It's identity hijacking.
Yeah.
This is a fucking perfect example of identity hijacking because it's gone on against black people, it's gone on against Jewish people, it's gone on against Asian people. So when you have this group pretending to represent a certain demographic to then get the capital of the demographic that they're trying to oppress, that demographic ends up then turning around to pay for their oppression. So this is the same thing with gay people, with transgender people. Anybody who is not a cis white male, a cis hetero white male, if you're not in that demographic, there are many systems and infrastructures in this country that are set up so then you end up paying for your own oppression, not just the US dollar, not just the stock market, not just 401ks, not just taxes. There are many, many institutions and systems designed so that people, if they're not a cis het white male, they end up paying for their own oppression, and their labor is stolen, their taxes are funneled with no transparency, and there's all these things that occur that then those people don't have the time or luxury to start breaking down these systems, which is why when something like GameStop happens, it starts to feel as if there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But these people, it's the worst possible lesson because then people wade in to the fucking rigged game again as if they're going to win, as if a bunch of people inflating GameStop stock price is not making the GameStop fucking CEOs rich, even more wealthy off of pulling bullshit tactics that they've been exploiting the workers, they've been exploiting the game market, and now they're getting rich because people have been tricked into thinking they're fighting fucking CEOs by fucking investing in GameStop. It's
GameStop CEO is worth $1 billion now.
So this is
as if that's fighting him.
This is one of those things that's amusing to me because it's like, sure, they get to take out this bridge that transports wealth to a group of people, but they are doing it while they're on the bridge. You know, they're destroying the funnel from inside the funnel, and the funnel still leads to the pot of gold that's going to enrich the rich.
Yep.
There's no involvement in the stock, in their market, their stock market, that can somehow get them to cede power because they already have all the power. It's their market. It's like trying to outgame the credit industry when the creditors have all the power. There's no amount of money that can out leverage the creditor at that point. And so even if somebody has, they put something into GameStop or AMC or GameStop, is it GameStop? Whatever. GameStop. Yeah, GameStop or AMC or whatever they put their money into, they're still putting their money into somebody else's wallet first. And then, as I understand it, there might be some kind of market manipulation fraud because they unlisted, Robinhood delisted GameStop.
Yeah, and AMC.
And so they prevented people from trading.
Here's the thing. The funny part about it is, okay, everybody gave Robinhood the capacity to do that in the terms of service.
Yep.
So the class action lawsuit that's happening against Robinhood is going to get thrown out. However, the fact that Robinhood has the capacity to do that does not make them manipulating the market legal. So it's this.
Everyone gets this. Well, poor people lose.
Fuck themselves over because they, in the terms of service, they built in a clause giving them the capacity to move anybody who uses their platform positions. But in doing that, then they're manipulating the market, which is not legal. So they built in this clause to protect themselves, not realizing that if they actually acted on that clause in the situation that's happening exactly now, it's still market manipulation.
Yes, there's no way they can derive indemnity from a user agreement when they're the ones who are directly.
They can protect themselves from the class action lawsuit with the user agreement, but they can't protect themselves from criminal charges from market manipulation because they explicitly use their terms of service agreement to manipulate the market. So they basically fuck themselves by trying to protect themselves against this class action lawsuit in real time. They were acting too quickly and then basically manipulated the market in a way that's definitely criminal. It's definitely criminal.
You know how this
now
plays.
We have members of Congress condemning Robinhood because probably members of their constituency were trading using Robinhood or had kids who were trading using Robinhood or something like that, and it blew back on them. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some senior leadership of Robinhood in front of some sort of congressional committee.
Oh yeah, that's definitely
testifying.
That's definitely
but it's also funny to see the interactions between the members of Congress because there are people from like a bipartisan condemnation of what was going on with Robinhood's market manipulation, but they were like disagreeing with each other at the same time, like screw you. This is my thing to disagree with, and I don't care what you have to say, even if you do disagree with it.
I mean, but this gets back to the whole thing of, Ted Cruz was basically one of the main insurrectionists. So why should anybody be trying to work with that fuck?
Exactly, though.
He's
Yeah,
terrorist
exactly.
fuck. And the only reason he's still in Congress is because he's a cis het white male. The only reason he still has his fucking job is because he's using his white privilege to protect him from prosecution. So again, it's like if he was a gay black woman or something like that, he would have been in jail for the shit that he fucking perpetrated against the nation. It's straight up treason. It's straight up treason. But just because he's a cishet white male, he's still in a fucking position of influence in the government. There's
A lot of cis het white males, like you said, a lot of cis het white males in this country just get away with shit.
Yeah.
They get away with shit. They get their sentences, what is it, commuted, suspended. Yeah, it just happens all the time. White collar assault, sexual assault. It's all over the news. I mean, it's typically
there's a private equity firm called Little John and Company that's worth $4.9 billion. I was just trying to think, well, maybe somebody should start a Little John and carry on the efforts of Robin Hood, but there already is a Little John. And they're almost a hedge fund on their own. So the theft of identity, man, I've just been thinking about it since you mentioned it. Can't have anything nice. Next thing you know, they're going to turn Mulan into a whatchamacallit, a warlord. And she's going to slaughter people across, she's going to kill the Uyghurs.
Mulan starring Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. As Morgan Freeman.
But yeah, there's a lot to how that representation ends up influencing people's capacity to let identities be hijacked in, and I think that's kind of where even if the GameStop shit was organic at first, it's already been hijacked. So this is kind of where now the same people who manipulate everything else can just come in and pretend, oh yeah, we're part of this group, and then feed that group information that's going to enrich them. And Americans are so fucking dumb that their first reaction is to try to capitalize off of this. How can I become the next person to get rich off of GameStop? Or what's the next GameStop? It's the worst reaction. It's just the entire worst reaction.
Apparently, the Wall Street Bros or Wall Street Bets crowd is trying to figure out the next hedge fund to target. The next one the next stock that's being shorted. They're going to go and work that angle again.
Again, as if Wall Street Bets hasn't been. Wall Street Bets is compromised.
Yeah,
it's fucking compromised. And the reason I know it's compromised is because they already started pumping Dogecoin, which is fucking just a bunch of bag holders who are trying to get people constantly to pump their shit so they can dump it on them. There's a bunch of people who are holding Dogecoin who wanted to pump. Not to say that Dogecoin is in itself a bad thing, but it was started as a joke first off, and then to hear people talk about it as like, oh, it's like a penny stock. No, it's not. It's nothing like a penny stock. It's not like a stock at all. And it's just crazy to hear people talk about shit that they just don't understand. You hear people who are stockbrokers or former stockbrokers talking about this stuff as if it's stocks, and it's not whatsoever. And that's kind of where...
I mean, it's associated with stock car racing, but not... That's the only stock I can think of that's related to.
A lot of people try and treat cryptocurrencies like penny stocks, essentially. The people who don't understand it, they don't understand the blockchain aspect of it, the immutable ledger aspect of it, the actual utility.
It's the currency exchange. It's a currency and not a stock. In that, like, foreign currency exchange is different than stock trading, and when people conflate the two, it demonstrates that they don't understand how currency works, and it demonstrates that they don't understand what stocks are. And then you have a bunch of people like then talking about penny stocks as if
Well, I think there's a
these are
there's a
stocks.
misconception that currency is somehow also legal tender. Currency and legal
Yeah,
tender are not the same.
no,
Like, they do similar things, but one of them fluctuates in value every tick of the stock ticker, and the other is kind of like its value is represented in terms of what you can get with it in real world goods at a moment. But even those prices fluctuate. It's just
yeah. I mean, everything is constantly in flux, but that's the problem, in that Americans are then taught that it's not in flux.
yeah.
And the reason that they think it's not in flux is because they put everything relative to a dollar and can't understand how to establish values relative to one another. So if I ask how many gallons of milk is a dozen eggs worth, that is a completely different framing than how much is a dozen eggs worth.
Five
And
apple
the
pies.
exactly, and those constructs are completely valid, except that the whole reason we use money is to create a centralized measure to make it easier. But when that measure has lost its connection, then it's no longer actually representative in real time. And those real time numbers are just arbitrary and fake a lot of times. So again, it's like with gas, for example, gas prices fluctuate because of the supply relative to the demand, but the supply relative to the demand is arbitrary because we've been forcing oil-based paradigms. So again, it's like when we talk or diamonds, the price of diamonds fluctuates constantly. The price of gold fluctuates constantly. But the whole reason that these things are then considered to have value is because our framing is that our system is closed, which is false, and that these things are scarce, which is also false. There's all these premises that have been put forth to establish our value system that we now know are false, but we haven't been able to address as a society to then say, oh, yeah, guess what? Gold is not scarce in the universe. Fucking electricity is not scarce in the universe. Water is not scarce in the universe. Hydrogen, oxygen, none of this shit is actually scarce in the universe, understanding that we are not in a closed system. But getting past that framing is something that we haven't been able to do because of Protestantism and its influence on everybody's understanding of how the world works. And then they don't want to acknowledge that their worldview is based on Protestantism. And so it's this big, like, you have people who would not acknowledge that their worldview is based on the Protestant human domain control of the planet, but then not be able to articulate the actual worldview that gives them their information about how everything was formed. And this is like that hidden, it feels like a hidden agenda, but it's just a matter of people not actually studying their own history well enough.
Absolutely. A dollar value is assigned to just about everything in the United States, including healthcare. Um, it's interesting to see how
Even trash has a dollar value.
even trash, yeah, trash has a dollar value. Aluminum cans that people no longer need can be salvaged by other people. Um, but it just the balance of the dollar value in people's lives just seems so skewed and out of whack, especially when they're trying to maintain the necessities of sustainability of life.
I will posit the only reason trash has a dollar value is because we haven't figured out how to not have it.
Sweden and Africa have figured out what to do with it. Sweden buys it, They incinerate it and turn it into electricity and water. And in Africa, they make bricks out of it to construct
What I'm
buildings.
saying is that is that still is having a byproduct. We are not in a system where we can do something without a byproduct, aka
Yeah.
trash.
Okay. So yeah.
And that's what I mean. If we were efficient enough where everything we did not have a byproduct, then we wouldn't have trash. If everyone ate their meal to then only eat what you needed at that given time, and then our excrement was turned into energy that was powering our homes or something, that's not actual trash, because our systems would then be designed to make everything useful at every single point within, and we're not going to excess. And part of it is like the only time something becomes trash is when there's unusable excess on the spot. Like a burger becomes trash if I'm full. A piece of paper becomes trash if I don't need to write, or if it's been written on too much and the information is no longer usable. There's all these things about the way we use matter that is too many inconsistent redundancies that then create the need to throw things out because we have too many redundant products.
So then hoarders must like overvalue everything then.
I mean, and that's part of it too. And in that, when you have too much redundancy, then efficiency becomes hyper valued in a way that it shouldn't actually be. So then somebody who pays to get to the front of the line or pays to get something first, they're upping the price of that product to bypass inefficiency and arbitrarily inflating the value of that thing because we're inefficient. And it becomes this cycle of value being derived from our inefficiency. So then when somebody creates something that's efficient, they're like, oh, this is an actual valuable thing. But again, it's only valuable because we're inefficient. And it's this fucking weird ass circle of
That's what happened with microphones at the beginning of the pandemic. All microphone prices were doubling and tripling because everyone wanted to buy a microphone and a camera too. I remember cameras became unobtainium within a matter of days.
Like $200-$300 for just a fucking webcam.
Yeah.
This shit was ridiculous.
Or you could order a camera from like China, but it wouldn't show up for 4 to 6 months.
Because they were probably taking pre-orders and building them.
Well, yeah, they have to build them.
That's what I'm saying. You're ordering some shit off of Amazon. It hasn't even been built yet because you don't know. And that's why this shit took 4 to 6 months. They're like, oh, we got fucking 1,000 orders, and they build 1,000 and then ship them out. And Americans are sitting there thinking, oh, I got some of the last ones, but they actually just built them in real time.
Yeah. and then they get it, and it's like the only thing that's the right size is the lens, and the body is way smaller than you thought it was going to be. And looking at it, it's like, well, this doesn't look anything like the thing that I ordered. And then you look closely, and it's like just a really well rendered image. It's not even a real picture of the camera because they're using they built it in Unreal Engine or something and turned up all of the resolution before they did their screen capture. That shit's mean. Like building it in a virtual environment that crosses the uncanny and crosses into the uncanny valley. And that means vaporware. There's a new threshold for vaporware.
Well, I was thinking about it, like plastic toys are basically the oil industry exploiting children with their byproduct in a way that then, because they make them colorful and attach them to cartoons and other properties, it doesn't feel quite as exploitative as it actually is. So when I'm looking at plastic toys now, all I see is like oil byproduct. And the crazy part about that shit is I remember when I was a kid and like, I would want to get toys and there'd be a point where it would be like, oh, you don't you want these toys because of the way they're presented in the commercial, and the way they're presented in the commercial makes them feel more autonomous than they are. And then you realize if you want the experience in the commercial, you have to have an imagination. So then if you have an imagination, then the toys aren't that important.
Nope.
And then the toys become moot. So there's this element of when you're actually aware of the kids in the commercials getting paid to present a false experience, that then you realize like, oh, this GI Joe toy or whatever, they don't actually talk back, they don't actually move on their own. Once you start realizing that shit as a kid, then the toy itself becomes less novel, except in the fact of it's new. If you see a new one, you're like, oh, I want to get that. So this whole toy for children phenomenon where they're getting these toys and then not actually playing with them,
I knew somebody like that when I was in elementary
like the oil
school.
industry. Sorry, go ahead.
I knew somebody like that in elementary school. He had every Playmobil and every Lego set imaginable, but after they were assembled, they would just sit on a shelf. That was their fate. They would end up on a shelf, never to be touched. They weren't like, I don't remember anything being dusty or unclean, but I mean, we're talking like, in the 80s, loads and loads of cash on Legos and Playmobil toy sets, never used. It was really weird. On a different note, though, I remember when I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8, and everyone I knew, they were all getting like realistic looking toy guns. And my dad wouldn't let me have a realistic toy gun, but I had this piece of cardboard and a Sharpie. And so in my mind, I had an orbital laser. It's like way cooler than, a firearm. But that's imagination. Yeah. That's the power of imagination. They were playing Ground Commando, and I had a spaceship and an orbital weapons platform.
That's dope.
In hindsight, I realized I shouldn't have been such a violent child, but I didn't end up like pursuing an orbital weapons platform as an adult, so I think it must have worked itself out of my system.
I played at war when I was a kid. I played little war games with my friends. We had the Nerf guns, the little laser tag guns, but I never really had too many of my own. It was, using my friends' toys and things like that. But I also recognize how there were certain toy fads like the Tamagotchis and all of that, where like every kid had to have one, and there was like a bit of a status thing about them. At least around where I was, it was a huge wave of kids my age getting Tamagotchis, and it was like people would look down their noses at each other if they didn't have one. And certain other toys too. It's like
Pogs.
It becomes a matter of status. Pogs. Pogs. It's interesting, all the different subcultures and subgroups of people within the toy consuming community that exist. There's Pogs. There's the different collectibles. There's the Pogs. There were the magic cards. Those aren't really toys. But it's still a game. And
well, Pogs were weird because I did Pogs for a while, and nobody ever actually wanted to play. People would collect them, but nobody would actually play because the part of the game is like
you could lose your Pogs.
Right, exactly. But nobody ever wanted to actually put them on the line. So it was this weird period where part of the fun was supposed to be gaining and losing, but then nobody ever actually played.
And there were like rare pogs, right? There were pogs
Yeah.
that were more
Like
desirable than others.
hologram foil coated pogs, um, like extra heavy duty slammers. Shit was crazy.
Yeah, but it was 100% just something designed to exploit children's desire to have something new.
Yep.
And
And to
you
kind of
know,
hoard it too.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it was teaching kids to hoard stuff, and this is kind of where the same thing happened with comic books and Beanie Babies,
Pokemon
Beanie
cards.
Pokemon. Yeah, it's really crazy to see a bunch of kids get trained to be hoarders and be told that this shit's gonna be valuable, as if there's not millions and millions of these things being produced. Because this is the paradox of it. What they're being told this shit is gonna be valuable. It's arbitrarily made rare. So it's like, oh yeah, we make 10 hologram pogs, 10 diamond coated ones, but 100 million bullshit ones. So you have to sift your way through like a fucking Willy Wonka golden ticket, and then a couple of kids are gonna get lucky, which is probably gonna be the rich kids anyway, because they're gonna have enough money to buy all of it. So it's this.
Well, then it's kind of like it becomes the Antiques Roadshow of
Yeah.
childhood. You know, where it's like the rarity and the desirability. You know, those indices that people use to determine the worth or the value of a particular item.
Man. So I just looked
Yeah,
up the
I mean,
value
I
of
remember.
I just looked up the
Sorry.
value of a Jose Canseco rookie card, of which there are 3 issued by Fleer, Topps, and Donruss in 1986. And I'm looking at this thing and I think to myself, I'm pretty sure I had those cards. They're worth like $150 a pop if they're in mint condition. That card was part of a pack of cards that I think was maybe $1. I think my friends and I, we would like trade baseball cards because we didn't know what they were worth. They weren't worth that to us. We just wanted to have the card of our favorite player.
Yeah, baseball cards weren't actually ever worth anything
Yeah.
except for, like the Hank Aaron and Mickey
Mantle.
people.
Yeah.
So this is where the card phenomenon is 100% contrived, and this is where there's a few cards that are valuable, like Michael Jordan's rookie card. There's like Wayne Gretzky's rookie card. There's not to say that there aren't cards out there that are valuable, but for the most part, sports cards, comic book cards, it was all just bullshit just to hype people into thinking this is the next big thing. And because they made so many, that's why the shit's not valuable. So this is kind of where these cycles became lies in themselves, in that when something's being presented as the next big collectible thing, there's probably a shitload of them being made, so they're not actually going to be rare.
Some jerk is just sitting
is that
on
kind of
them.
like a pump and dump?
It is. It's definitely a pump and dump, but this is, I don't know if you guys remember when Angry Birds got taken off of the iPhone store or the App Store or whatever, and then iPads with Angry Birds still loaded on them were worth $100,000, but they actually weren't, because then you went and checked the eBay listings, and the people who were bidding on the ones that the media was doing a story about were fucking new accounts. So it was just basically people pretending that those sales were happening and creating transactions with themselves to make it look like it, and then the media would come and report it as if it was fact, because they weren't smart enough to deduce that, or they were in on it and trying to just make money off of it. And this shit happens over and over. Same thing with Dogecoin and GameStop. You think these fucking journalists aren't buying these stocks before they run the story? You know what I mean?
They probably have teams of people.
Of course
they have
they
like
do.
a department within the news organization that
Yeah.
Melvin
Buys
Capital is
making
in. I
investments.
think after Melvin Capital was assassinated, some other hedge funds started putting money into GameStop. Not-
Exactly.
and so, or not GameStop, into Robinhood. And so Robinhood is going to do their IPO soon. And it's the big question is, are the hedge funds going to be involved? Because they were involved in the assassination of Melvin Capital.
I mean, but they weren't. It's,
But they weren't.
again, it's like as if the people who, because okay, Wall Street does not bet the same way. If there's
Nope.
somebody betting for it, there's somebody betting against it. So if there's Melvin Capital, there's some other fucking hedge fund that's
Yeah.
long on GameStop. So I'm sure there's some fucking hedge fund that just not the media is not reporting because that ruins the narrative. Like, oh, this hedge fund made $3 trillion off of GameStop because they got in at $2. And that completely ruins the narrative that somehow this is fucking David versus Goliath.
Well,
It never was.
there's got to be some kind of like insider interest. The person who broke the story is probably a fan of GameStop. They probably are an avid gamer. They probably go and get video games every week, and they read about this and they get incensed because they take a personal. It's in a personal affront that some hedge fund would short them so hard, and then
That person doesn't exist, bro.
well, I know, but
And the whole reason that person doesn't exist is because GameStop's prices fucking suck and they don't pay you shit for used games. So that's why gamers stop fucking going to GameStop. So this is why this whole thing is like, it's so many layers of why it's bullshit. GameStop should be out of business, but it shouldn't be because some fucking hedge fund bet against them. It should be because they don't fucking pay well for fucking used games and their prices are shit. That's why they should be out of business. But there's also no reason that their fucking CEO should then be getting their stock prices blown up by people thinking they're fighting the man by then giving
it to a different
GameStop
man.
CEOs fucking big ass paydays for running shitty organizations. That's why it's so mind boggling to me. It's somebody who used to go to GameStop but fucking stopped going to GameStop and started going to Steam. Like, if these were real gamers, they'd be going for fucking Steam. You know what I'm saying?
or
Like,
Xbox Live or whatever, right?
It's basically, it's all speculation.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like the streaming gaming market is so much richer. There are so many more options. If you like a controller, you can plug your favorite controller into a computer and bada bing, you have your favorite controller interface. You might have to map it. Oh well. Heaven forbid that a gamer actually has to put some effort into using their controller. I don't know. I'm just it's the whole thing is, you're right. It is so weird. It's surreal because I've had consoles all my life, and I had an Xbox 360, and I kept thinking, I'll just hold out until the next generation console comes out. It'll be a Sony or a Microsoft product, and I won't. I'll decide when it comes out, and I'll be able to, I'll be able to make my decision then what's going to be the best option. And then it turned out that the best option was just use a computer. Holy crap! All the games that I actually wanted to play are on a computer platform that I can maintain. That I'm not at the. I've had 3 Xbox 360s in my life because eventually they die, and I realize now we're like way out from the delivery of the Xbox 360, but still, like, I had a fucking PlayStation that lasted me like a decade, and it didn't have any problems by the time I sold it. I had a first generation Xbox that didn't have any problems before I sold it, and I had that thing fucking forever.
Yeah, I still have my old Xbox 360.
The only thing that I really like about consoles is the modular and external power supply. But I realize that having like an external 1,000-watt power supply for some of these gigantic video cards is just asking for trouble. But that's one thing that I think laptops have definitely got right, is having an external transformer and being able to place that giant heat generating block of metal outside of the computer itself. That's really smart. They did that right. And that can be replaced because those things do fail. So they did something right. But you're right about the whole supply chain and idiots driving the prices up artificially. That's the biggest inhibiting factor for console adoption for me, aside from the fact that I can just download a trial of the game that I want to play to see if I actually want to buy it. And if I happen to like it, oh, lo and behold, I can give the developers money. Can probably give them money directly and bypass the store that's just holding on to it so other people can touch the case.
Right. Well, this is where Game Pass is come into play, and it's like
Game Pass is amazing.
Infinitely more economic to pay the company directly to then get access to their library instead of going through GameStop or going through Steam even. And that's kind of where again it's weird to because then you don't you're licensing these things. You don't even own your game system anymore. They made it so that you're licensing it from the company. How do you know you're licensing it? Because if you try to mod it, then your warranty's shot. So you don't have the capacity to modify.
Not even modify, just
Your-
you can't even service it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you can't open it.
You can't even
without
open it.
voiding your warranty.
Yeah.
So there's all these elements about it's pseudo ownership of these consoles, even whereas when I'm constructing my computer, all of the pieces are protected individually so that if one of them breaks down, I can get them repaired under their warranty, but I can also modify my machine. So there's this whole difference with, the level of ownership you have when you build a computer versus purchasing a console. It's like you don't actually own your console. It sounds crazy, but you don't. Since I think it was the second, Xbox 360 or something.
Yeah.
It may have been the first Xbox even. The way that they made the terms of service agreements.
No, you could still
you do not own the console.
you could
are
still open
licensed.
up the original Xbox, and it wouldn't
maybe
void the
Maybe
warranty
it was the 360.
because you had to be able to. They had to give you access to a hard drive, I think. But
That's it.
but no, and I know that people they added RAM to the first gen Xboxes successfully, and it didn't like kill the system, and Microsoft didn't seem to care. And there were companies that emerged that would do those services, but they all disappeared with Xbox 360 because as soon as somebody tried to do anything to it, they would turn it back on and it would immediately get the red ring. And that was before the red ring heating issue became a thing. People would try to install third-party software and, man, they locked down that operating system. They really did. Like draconian levels of locking it down. Oh, you want to add something that's not supposed to be here? Boom, brick.
Yeah, at launch, the Xbox 360 was like $400. So does that mean that the retail price is the same as just the cost of a license, essentially?
No, you're paying like $200 for a license because you can buy a bricked hardware for $50 to $100. You can buy a working Xbox 360 for $100 or less any day of the
but
week.
that's just like when you pay for the Windows license.
That's true.
It's like, it's the same fucking thing, basically.
Yeah. I mean, the hardware's okay. At launch, it's okay. And then 2 weeks later, there's a better video card.
And what about the games? What are people actually paying for with the games?
So there's
I mean,
a game. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's the same type of license in that when you mod a game, you're breaking the license, which is why then you can get banned from a server. So it's like you don't have own the game, because if you actually own the game, you could go into the script and modify it without breaking the contract with the company, which you can't. Unless they allow modding, which some games do.
On a console?
No, definitely not.
So
No.
I play this game, Star Trek Online, and it's free. And it's on PC, it's on PlayStation, it's on Xbox, I believe. And each version is slightly different. Like there were special ships that were only available in one version. There were special events that were only available to one platform at the time of launch. Because this is like a 10-year-old game, 11-year-old game now. And the thing that I think is interesting about that is, in a sense, there's 3 different versions of the game that the other people won't ever get a chance to see. And I think that they've changed that now, because there's some games that are multi-platform and cross-platform. Like, can't you interact cross-platform now?
I'm not positive, but I do think they I
think
they made it cross-platform.
at least PlayStation and Xbox, I think. But and there are more cross-platform games that are emerging because, you know,
Oh no, it doesn't.
oh, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, I remember reading about cross-platform gaming as a goal in like unifying gaming experience, because at a point it should be about interaction and playing the game. I realized there's some
Well, but they're using different code bases.
oh yeah,
Like Microsoft and Sony use completely different code bases, so that's why they can't
but
necessarily
I think that
interact.
they're wrapped though.
Right. I mean, but there has to be a layer
Yeah,
in which they're wrapped to interact, and it's like that takes lifting to make sure that there's no bugs.
yeah. No, it's true that a game has to be optimized for its platform. It can't just be the raw version of it that was coded. I'm sure that GTA is coded on a very powerful machine by or several powerful machines, teams of developers. But I think that should be the goal ultimately, is to get people, it doesn't matter what platform they're on, they should all be able to eventually the computing power will be sufficient that the lowest powered console will be able to enter a cyber video game universe. I guess I'm thinking of like Ready Player One now. And it shouldn't matter if you have the fancy boots or the regular shoes or the suspension suit or the universal treadmill or omnidirectional treadmill or the gloves or not. You could have the controllers. There should be a way to make all of these things play with each other. You should be able to get an advantage from having a fancy control interface, though, or at least experience, drive some kind of more realistic playing experience.
Neuralink hotkeys.
Oh God, I can only imagine the people that try to mod Neuralink, like frying their cortex. They're sitting there playing a game, and all of a sudden their tune starts spazzing out and like launching all of the buffs, and next thing you know, Comtrex 226 is like laying there in their computer desk, like frying themselves. Too many stims.
Kind of reminds me, that image reminds me of an issue of Constantine, I believe, where Constantine is trying to use techno magic, or has like a techno mage friend who ends up getting stuck in the computer realm and his body disintegrates.
Yeah, maybe neural interface is still, there are a lot of bugs to work out with that.
Yeah, remember when Elon stands were all about letting him put
Fucking poor ass
chips in the
pig.
brain, and then 5G spread the COVID and was like, now the chips are bad.
Microchips in the vaccines. Can you believe that?
Wait till they hear about 6G.
Oh man.
There's going to be like a new conspiracy. There better not be like a new disease with each G.
Oh, you know there will be.
On.
It's soon. It's going to keep up with the development of computer processors.
Like 6G gives you the flu.
Yeah,
It'll have to be something innocuous this time around.
But 7G cures the flu, but might give you AIDS. There's like a 50% chance that you end up with AIDS.
And
but it has the most
plantar fasciitis.
Sure, but 8G has the most revolutionary data transfer speeds yet, and it'll allow you to watch transfer an entire movie in the time it takes you to click the mouse. So, trade-offs.
8G also cures arthritis, but can give you radiation poisoning.
Why are people afraid of 8G? I mean, if it cures arthritis, everything else is just a small trade.
You can't take Advil while you're using 8G because of the medication interaction.
Warning, this product may cause irregular toenail growth.
Meanwhile, those people sit in front of the microwave and watch it while their food cooks.
They like literally lean over it and stare directly into it, waiting for that burrito. Is it ready yet? Oh, only 30 more seconds.
You know, that population may or may not get cancer. If they don't, it's probably because they've been treating themselves with low doses of radiation. And if they do, it's because they ate all that microwave dinner. Oh, poor bastards.
Oh, I can't imagine the collective gut of the United States right now. Like,
What would it look like?
oh my God.
Like in American Gods, there's technology, there's Mr. World, there's television, there's all these new gods. What would be the representation of the American diet collectively?
A lap band?
Oh God.
Beer belly? Beer?
Probably be like some sort of inside out acidic. No, it would have to be something classy if it was out of American Gods.
No, wait. Why couldn't it be like a pineapple, like a Hawaiian pizza?
Yes, it would be a Hawaiian pizza. Is that just pineapple on pizza, or is that pineapple and ham on pizza?
I think it has to have ham.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's pineapple and ham.
It's a pizza delivery guy with the pineapple pizza. That's the god of the American diet.
He also might carry fried chicken.
A bag of it, a bucket of it.
Yeah, of KFC.
Bucket of KFC.
So he works at a Kentucky Hut. None of those foods' origins were of America, but they define American cuisine. Kentucky Hut.
Americans love their tacos.
No, Kentucky Hut, man. That's the most profound fast food place that I can think of.
Taco Hut?
Yeah, Kentucky. It's KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut.
Oh, the hybrid?
Yeah, Kentucky Hut.
Hybrid drive-through place?
No,
the
really badass Kentucky Huts have buffets.
What?
Yeah. They have like pizza buffet and chicken buffet and salad bar and taco bar, and
wow.
Kentucky Hut's an experience. Like, it's the equivalent for adults. It's the equivalent to a playground at McDonald's for adults. You can have a fried chicken taco. You can have a fried chicken taco pizza.
Fried chicken burrito.
You can have a fried chicken burrito.
A fried chicken pizza burrito.
Sure.
Did you experience this place?
Where?
Yeah.
There was a Kentucky Hut on Interstate 70 on the way out towards St. Louis, I believe. Where's the Kentucky Hut? Where's the closest one? I
remember seeing those.
I know there's a Taco Hut in Indy. Kentucky Hut. Overland Park, Kansas. It's next to Hobby Lobby.
In Kansas, you said?
Yeah, there's one in Kansas.
That's the lunch spot.
There's more of them. I've seen more. This is just the first one that pops up on Google.
That's weird. The first one that pops up is in Kansas and not like closer.
Where else would it be? I mean, that's like some Americana. That's ultimate Americana right there.
That is Americana.
Kentucky Hut locations. Maps. Okay.
That's like where you go after a long day of garage sale folk art picking. You got to go someplace with a buffet after all that. And a big ol' iced tea with all the sugar.
Yeah, it's right on the Kansas-Missouri border. I was close. Now I'm thinking about fucking fried chicken and pizza again. I already had fried chicken and pizza like within the last week.
Together?
No, separately.
I was like,
I mean, sorry, that came out a little.
like, wait a minute. I didn't. Is this a thing?
We have some Korean restaurants around here that serve fried chicken, and it's delicious. That's the place where I prefer to get my fried chicken these days if I get it.
I just buy a big bag of frozen wings and mix up some kind of batter or rub and bake them in the oven. I've tried to do the whole deep fry thing, but it's so messy. You can only, and once you get it to a certain temperature, it never tastes right. Like if you get the oil too hot, you end up with this oil bath that's really not good for really anything. And if you cook certain things, like, man, if you cook some fish in some oil, it will never cook anything without leaving a fish flavor. And that's like, fried fish is good, but I don't want to eat. But I don't want to eat fried fish all the time. I don't want that. If I was going to invest in actually make the effort to do deep fried foods like for real with any kind of regularity, I guess you got to change your oil every time if you really want to have like that clean flavor. But there is something to be said for, like, you know, those, I guess, what are they called? Elephant ears or funnel cakes? Like
Yeah.
they have at fairs. Like they keep their oil at a fairly low temperature. And it seems like they only use that one vat of oil for the funnel cake or the elephant ear. And so it only ever tastes kind of caramelized.
I remember working in food service at IU, and I would work various stations, and there was the one station that had like the fried chicken, and I remember the oil wouldn't get changed particularly regularly. They would like keep the oil pretty much the same for a while.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I hate eating out. Because you never know. Like, man.
When was the last time these motherfuckers changed their oil? That's not the kind of question you're going to ask when you go out to eat.
I don't know. It's a question I would ask now. I just feel like I could ask it if I wanted to.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to.
Change your oil. It's like, do you mean in my car, sir?
No, in your fryer. Oh, what a strange question. How often do you change your oil? Well, every 3,000 miles. Well, what does that mean in fried chicken?
Well, fried foods are so heavy on your gut. I made funnel cakes at home one time, and I just puked all night because there was just too much oil in it. And it's like, you know, it was definitely clean oil, but I realized in that experience, we're just not supposed to eat that much fried food in one sitting.
No, we're not.
And it's like, even I love fried chicken, but one piece of fried chicken is too much. Like, it's way more than our body's supposed to take in concerning fat is in one meal, and that's kind of where it's like, that's why it tastes so good at the same time. But
there's always a price to pay.
Yeah.
The only times I've ever blacked out from alcohol consumption, both times I consumed like a multi-piece fried chicken meal from KFC, and I'm pretty sure I just lined my stomach with grease, which would have prevented the first pass metabolism effect from happening. And so I was essentially just creating a conduit to dump alcohol into my digestive tract without having neutralized a significant portion of it through first pass
Oh
metabolism.
no!
This has happened to me 2 times in my life. Both times I've woken up in somebody else's house. Like, where the fuck am I? It's the only time it's ever happened to me. Yeah. Fried food, alcohol. They don't actually mix. I mean, I suppose if your goal is to get so inebriated that, people could perform surgery on you, then sure, why not?
Well, that's pretty old school. Where anesthetic was like knocking someone out.
Here, drink all this vodka really quickly. I know it tastes terrible, but you won't remember a thing. Eat this fried chicken before you do it. It'll help.
You're gonna hurt a lot when you wake up, and I don't want you to remember who did this to you.
Oh, that sounds terrible. That just made it really bad. It made it even worse. Yeah, fried foods. I love them, but you're right. There's a price to pay. Like lately, the only times I get indigestion, it's well, if I eat like way too many cookies and drink the entire thing of milk, that'll fuck me up because nobody's supposed to drink that much milk and eat that many cookies. Cookies expand too, but
Yes.
the thing that really fucks me up is if I stir fry and you're right, if I put too much oil in it and I don't like drain enough, man, that's something that I feel like late in the night, like 4 or 5 in the morning. I'm laying there. It's like, okay, stomach, I'll make a deal with you. I won't do that to you again, but you got to stop this shit. Stomach never relents. It's always like, fuck you. Why'd you do this to me?
It's really crazy how much the feeling of intestinal blockage due to oil coagulation is painful. It's like, oof, it's one of the worst pains. And I was thinking about this. You rarely, not you, but a person rarely ever feels their internal nerves unless it's pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of where, as beings, we're so focused on our external stimuli most of the time, whether it's your butt in the chair or your arms on the armrest or whatever. Like, you don't get a chance to think about, oh, what's my liver feeling right now? What are my kidneys feeling right now?
You're not supposed to feel your liver or your kidneys, though.
Right, exactly. And when
my spleen was letting me know something the other day, I mean, that's like a really bad thing.
Right, and that's the only, and that's part of it. Is the only time we're supposed to feel it is if there's something bad happening, so we avert it. And this is kind of where that horrible stomach feeling that happens from too much oil. You would think it would be bad enough that it would keep people averse from eating too much oil, but it's that fucking flavor, man.
Making a deal. It's making a deal with the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Tastes delicious, but gets you later.
Fucking lard.
Dude, but lard, when you make like cornbread with lard, it's like next level.
Uh-huh.
And
Lard and shortening.
yeah, I mean if you put lard in a pie crust, I mean that's like heavenly pie crust.
I remember the most delicious blueberry pie I've ever had was made by the Amish in Goshen, Indiana. Or Napanee, Indiana. That was delicious. And fried chicken. I had basically gotten over viral meningitis after traveling abroad, and I had lost a lot of weight. So my parents wanted to fatten me up and sent me up to Napanee, Indiana, to this location that was near an Amish community, and the food there was amazing. But I imagine they must have used a good amount of like taste enhancers that if I were to consume them today with my slowed down metabolism, I would probably suffer, to say the least. But damn, that food was good. And that pie was amazing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
There's a Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, KFC, Long John Silver's.
Yeah, get that fish taco.
And A&W. They're all under Yum Brands, though. It's one of the
they were so
franchisees.
busy worrying if they could, they never stopped to think if they should.
Well, it never ceases to amaze me that there is this silent population out there that somehow manages to support Long John Silver's. Like,
Oh my god. I wonder what it must smell like in that place.
It probably becomes difficult to smell because the olfactory bulb gets overwhelmed with like emulsification.
the last time I was in a Long John Silver's, well, I deeply regretted it later, of course. It was delicious at the time. I don't remember what it smelled like. I don't remember anything after I got out of the car in the parking lot in terms of what it smelled like, because it's such a powerful fryer oil smell. Like the chicken there doesn't even taste like chicken. That's the thing that gets me.
No, the fish and the chicken taste damn near identical.
Yeah,
one is which.
they could probably serve the chicken as like sturgeon and get away with it. Here, try our sturgeon strips, now made with 100% chicken.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've ever had maybe one positive Long John Silver's experience in my life, and it was probably 25 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say had to have been as a child.
Yeah, it was the last time I ate it was as a child, because that's, I can't imagine an adult in their right mind getting that stuff voluntarily. Like, you have to be stuck in a position where you haven't eaten for fucking days, and it's the only possible thing, like, available for me to. I don't even know if I'd eat it then. I'd probably pass.
I don't know. I think if it was choose between Long John Silver's and not eating, eventually I would cave.
What do they even have on their menu besides like fried fish? What is it?
Fried chicken, fried
chicken,
fried calamari, shrimp.
I think their hush puppies weren't actually bad. I think that's what it was.
The hush puppies aren't bad at all. That's a cornmeal. It's like a fried cornbread ball with seasoning.
Hard to fuck that up.
Yeah, it is. You can buy hush puppy mix. It's just seasoned cornbread mix that you form into balls and deep fry. It's probably the easiest thing. There's nothing that Long John Silver's makes that a person couldn't make at home. Like absolutely nothing. It's just the prep and the cleanup part that makes it undesirable to do regularly, because that's a lot of fucking oil, and you gotta do something with it. You can't just dump it down the drain. At the beginning of pandemic, when I remember seeing pictures of sewer mains that were breaking, and they would go and try and service them, and they'd open up the service hatch, and it'd be this giant mess of like baby wipes and grease and shit, of course. But it's the baby wipes and the grease, the things that don't break down, that aren't supposed to go down the drain. That I thought was super amusing because they would turn into this like, you know, quarter-mile long tube of
Yeah.
sludge that was like sliding through under water pressure at like, you know, a few inches an hour. And it has to come out
Yeah.
somewhere.
I've seen that image. It's disgusting.
This is what people.
And it all came out of people.
Yeah.
The clogged artery metaphor.
Yeah, that's Long John Silver's for you.
Oh.
That's what it does to the arteries.
What it does on your plate, it does on your veins.
Wonder how long it would take for the clan of Long John Silver's workers and consumers to develop some kind of genetic predisposition to being able to process high levels of fats. I mean, maybe they all live in like solid ketosis all the time, and they're just hangry all the time.
Quite possibly.
I mean, I feel like if you broke up the meals, that might be possible. Like,
Yeah.
but it's amazing how frequently Americans eat too. Because I'm to the point where I think I eat maybe 2 meals a day at most in general. Sometimes it's like 1.5. And I'm trying to figure out how people have so much time
To eat?
to fucking eat.
Yeah.
All the goddamn time. All the fucking time. It's like before noon, around fucking 3 or 4, then dinner again. Then sometimes if they're still up, go to Taco Bell.
Yeah, second dinner.
Jesus fucking Christ. How many goddamn times?
Like indulgent hobbits.
Yeah, you got a second lunch and second dinner and late night
Second
snack,
breakfast.
second breakfast,
11sies.
11sies, 12sies.
Afternoon tea.
Hobbit and their pipe weed.
But
No, that's a good point. As I get older, I find myself eating less, and part of it's due to less activity. But even when I was really active, I don't remember. I don't remember eating a lot. I've always skipped breakfast, and lunch was always light, and dinner was always like filling, but it was never like, oh, I gotta cram full and pack it in there because I'm gonna go on a 20-mile hike tomorrow. Carbo loading for a 20-mile hike is important though, and when I was a Boy Scout, I remember eating lots, like a big bowl of oatmeal before I'd go hiking, but it's different. I think if I tried to eat that like a giant bowl of oatmeal now, I'd probably stop halfway through and just say, "Oh, I'm gonna regret this later."
I sometimes have like a single serving of low sugar Quaker oatmeal as like a snack.
I like plain oatmeal
Really does it.
because then you can add like a scoop of like strawberries or strawberry jam, or put real strawberries in it, and add just a little bit of
Banana
milk.
or something.
Banana, if you like bananas in oatmeal, weirdo.
I do. I like bananas in oatmeal.
I like bananas, just not in oatmeal.
yeah, I mean, they just blend in. I can't really taste like. I eat them in oatmeal for extra potassium, just because they are like basically once they're in there, you can't. I don't know. I can't even really taste them.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think bananas are great. Like, there's no more perfect potassium supplement like on earth. I don't know. I just never put them in oatmeal or anything like that.
The easy way to just throw in fruit, like grapes, are really good in oatmeal.
I like strawberries. Peaches are really good.
Yeah.
Blueberries. I always liked the packet apple cinnamon, but I've never been one for putting freshly chopped apples into oatmeal for some reason, because they don't heat up quickly. They stay cold and crisp on the inside. Maybe if I'd cooked the apple first, it'd be different.
I mean, I like that cold and crisp because that's where, with the grapes too. It's like
Yeah.
you don't want soggy ass warm grapes.
Ugh. Yeah, no. No, I can't think of any situation where I want warm, soggy ass grapes. Grapes are really only good when they're like crisp too. Like vine fresh grapes. Yeah, I mean sure they're nice. And if you get some really fancy ones, they have that really robust like Concord grapes, have that really round flavor to them. And those are okay at room temperature, but they're really good when they're cold. But like the red and white grapes that are just like common grapes, those things are so tart anymore. Like after a while, when they sit out, they just taste weird. Like warm
Yeah,
grape juice doesn't even taste good.
feels like the quality has gone down in the last couple of years
Yeah,
in general. Like you'll get some good red grapes ever so often, but um, yeah, in general, it's like really hard to find crisp grapes.
yeah.
Well, if they're not Concord.
It's occurred to me that they transport fruits and vegetables in like I think in methane or something, or in a methane gas enriched environment to prevent oxidation. And that's one of the reasons that certain fruits are coated in wax and some aren't. It's so that they will transport some ripen during transportation. Maybe we're getting grapes like way too early, and it's just it's just a byproduct of the demand curve. They're not reaching mature. They're not reaching the ideal stage of maturity before transportation to distribution, and so they don't actually have enough time to ripen properly because certain portions of the distribution network are too efficient, and then
I
they sit
wouldn't
on a
doubt it.
shelf.
I
Then they
wouldn't
sit on
doubt
it.
it,
Yeah,
man. And especially because then a lot of them don't taste sweet and they're just watery and like
or
soggy,
sour.
watery grapes are just it's so disappointing. You'd rather not eat them than have to deal with that. And it's like
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I'm kind of afraid of a world where you know pineapples and grapes aren't like available. But at the same time, I understand why some industries just can't survive. I mean, we're also on the verge of like completely losing the banana. I think we're down to like 4 banana lines because they keep getting these like you know diseases, these genetic diseases that cause them to fail, like
The banana
massive crop
blight.
failure. Yeah, blight. Um,
Did we at one point on the show discuss how pineapples were a sign of like elite
oh
status?
yeah, I like mentioning that anytime I can because it's absurd. At one point,
Bring them to parties.
dude, at one point, a pineapple was cost more to possess a pineapple than it cost to buy a coach to be drawn by horses. So in then terms, it would have been like $8,000. I wonder how much a horse-drawn coach costs now. Shopping. You can buy a used one for $2,600. It seats 6. You can buy a covered horse carriage for $12,900, $8,500, $4,500. So that's still a lot of money. $1,700 for the cheapest used uh, horse-drawn buggy on eBay. You still have to be able to afford horses.
And feed them and all that.
Yeah. Fucking
Well, I mean, wouldn't wouldn't a horse-drawn buggy back then be more like the equivalent of buying like a fucking Mercedes or a Bugatti or some shit now?
pretty much.
So a pineapple costs more than a Bugatti.
Yeah.
He
That's a nice Bugatti you got there, but have you seen my pineapple?
pulls it out of the coat. Have you seen my pineapple?
You get a big gold chain around your neck, and at the bottom of it has this dish that's balanced by smaller gold chains where you place your pineapple like Flavor Flav's clock.
If you're really, really wealthy, then you put like pineapples on your carriage.
where the lamps go.
Exactly. You drape your horses in pineapples.
Man, I'm gonna go get a pineapple vinyl decal for my car now.
There you go.
That we're gonna start selling pineapple decals on our merch. Just to let you all know, if anyone's interested in pre-ordering, get a hold of any of us, and we will make it happen. Just throwing that out there. I'll have the pineapple drawn up later today.
Exceptional pineapples.
Exceptional pineapples. Exceptional pineapple vinyls.
They are exceptional.
In 1866, a stagecoach would have cost the equivalent of a $30,000 car. Not quite a Bugatti, but still.
What is that, a Toyota Avalon?
No. That's like a Ford Fusion. A nice Ford Fusion. That's like a nice Honda Accord. Nice Camry, I guess. You can get a entry level Mercedes for that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a truffle burger or some shit that's like the equivalent.
There is, or there's like a gold covered burger somewhere.
The most expensive meals that came up were the Louis the 13th pizza for $12,000.
Okay, so the world's most expensive hamburger costs $5,000. It features Wagyu beef, seared foie gras, and black truffle shavings. The Fleur Burger 5000 can be obtained in Las Vegas inside the Mandalay Bay Casino. $5,000 burger.
You go in with $10,000, lose $5,000, and spend the other $5,000 that you have left on a Fleur burger.
Well, there's $25,000 tacos.
What?
Grand Velas tacos.
What's in them?
It's Kobe beef, almost beluga caviar, black truffle brie cheese,
It has gold on
served
it.
gold flake infused corn tortilla.
So that's $25,000.
Yeah.
Gee.
It's amazing.
Are they big?
No.
No, it does not look big at all. It's like a flower. God, rich people are dumb. This is just proof that rich people are not smart. With
I
those,
mean, we were working off the premise that pineapples were elite
Right.
status.
So,
Yeah. That was the starting point.
the internet does occasionally provide gems. And I saw a meme today where they said something to the effect of, I don't know why all these billionaires are so worried with their phenomenal work ethic. They should be able to recover their money in no time.
All they have to do is cut out the Starbucks, get Uber jobs, and skip the avocado toast.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They've got bootstraps.
They wear Uggs, so
But
they don't have
no, their
bootstraps.
Uggs have straps too.
Their Uggs have straps.
They've got special edition 1%er Uggs.
1%er Uggs with the straps.
Okay, a kilogram of white pearl albino caviar, uh, sturgeon caviar is $9,100. The swallow's nest soup, it's a Chinese delicacy. Um, $3,000 per kilogram. Saffron is worth $400 to $1,000 per kilogram. White truffles, $2,100 per kilo. Wagyu steaks, $450 per kilo.
Bluefin tunas go for a lot in the Tsukiji fish market in Tokyo.
Moose cheese is worth $1,074 per kilogram. Oh, and then the art banana, $3,500.
The what banana?
That money laundering banana.
Oh, the banana that they duct taped to a wall.
And then the guy ate, and then he said, "It's okay. You can just replace it with a different banana."
Uh,
That fucking money laundering scheme, banana. Those bastards. What was the other money laundering art transaction that happened recently? Um, what was it? It was like a Banksy thing, or there's something that sold for a lot. It's like a painting, or I can't remember what it was now. No, that wasn't it. Most expensive artwork.
reminds me of the movie The Square about a contemporary art museum.
Never heard of that.
You never heard of it? There's this amazing scene where this patron dinner is hosted at the museum, and the performance artist who's featured at the dinner basically acts like a chimpanzee and goes on this rampage through the dinner. Now, I know that it sounds kind of innocuous and a little bit silly, but the way it's directed is pretty interesting. It's also got a lot of really scathing commentary on contemporary art and art analysis and how the money goes through the system and
It
who
was the
has
Del
the
Monte,
money.
the Del Monte 20 from a couple weeks ago. That's what I was thinking of. That thing
Oh yeah,
the $20 bill that sold for $57,000. That's just like another example, a premium example of money laundering through art transaction. Sorry, I totally derailed you.
no, I was just waiting to hear about the Del Monte 20. Apparently,
Yeah, some idiot dropped a sticker between the layers as the sheet of 20s were being produced, and it's embedded inside the bill, and they decided to auction it off, and it sold for $57,000. A $20 bill that, when you use it, is only worth $20.
someone's gonna frame that and put it in a vault. Someone's gonna pay
It's
to
never going to be
protect
worth
it.
more than $20, though. The $20 bill. I don't care how rare it is. It's a $20 bill.
That's the Antiques Roadshow for
Our
you.
fucking tax dollars made that thing, and someone paid $57,000 to have an error. This is
And
like
then again, like, is it Valuable because it's a rare mistake. Like, why?
That makes it valuable now?
Right.
What the fuck? Here we have a 1975 Corvette. Its engine doesn't work, but it's worth twice as much as it was when it was new.
Yeah.
Fuck.
All the other engines work, but this one doesn't work, so this was actually worth more.
This one's engine was blessed.
It has never turned. It's an unturned virgin engine. It's worth even more.
It's been blessed in absentia.
That's like that's got to be like a milestone of late stage capitalism when we are overvaluing mistakes and calling things or yeah, just driving the prices of things up for no reason at all. I mean, I see it on in eBay is a great example that you mentioned earlier. Like, I mean, I see it all the time where there will be a dozen or more examples of one item that clearly people want because the prices are they're holding value, and some people will just bid the price of an auction up to ridiculous levels because they really want that one, even though in 45 minutes after this auction ends, there's another one coming up that's going to cost less because it doesn't have any attention. They might have an error in the listing that people aren't seeing, and so it's not getting as many views. But people will just drive the price up like they're chasing how much somebody else has bid on something.
It's like the housing market.
Yeah.
Housing market is so weird. It feels so crooked.
My understanding is that people are buying, well, some people who have the means are purchasing second homes outside of cities so they can have a place with more space because they can work from home. So they can have a second place. And then what does that do? That creates a place in the city that they're going to rent out. Now they've got
probably.
So now this is creating a new generation of a different type of landowner than property owners.
Oh, sigh of sighs.
I apologize for that. I mean, I think that the goal should be to own property at some point because you should own your home and you should have rights to use the land that your home sits on. But this country makes it really difficult to do these things for a lot of people.
Not only does it make it difficult to do it for a lot of people, but it makes it difficult for people to take advantage of the opportunities being provided by those who own land without living an unsustainable life.
Yeah. Well,
because they have all the other expenses to contend with because of the hold that the dollar value has over everybody's life.
Also because property owners want to make money on top of being able to pay the mortgage and the insurance and the maintenance. They want
to turn a profit.
Yeah. And the bank has to turn a profit.
The bank is the biggest player in the whole game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy that everybody has to make money off of Americans or else nothing will move. Like, our existence has to be monetized or else no action will occur.
Well, that's the bond level villain brilliance of the credit system. Because people are constantly in that slow bleed state where they're always having money made off of them and they're never able to repay it in full, most of them.
Yes.
Auto loans, home loans, mortgages, personal loans, credit card, all of that. It adds up. And A single family or a single person can have all of those debts, and they're going to be spending the rest of their lives, most likely, with those debts, if not beyond. It's going to carry over.
Holy crap.
It basically leads to a generational displacement of wealth. No one has a chance to get ahead.
In since 2010, there's been a 43% increase in the number of empty properties, resulting in 59 empty properties for each homeless person in the United States.
Since when?
It's increased by 24%. Since 2010, the number of empty properties per homeless person has increased by 24%, and it results in 59 empty properties per homeless person.
The homeless are disenfranchised, though.
Yeah.
Completely.
And in 2019, there are 555,672 confirmed U.S. citizens who are homeless. And that is a 7.2% increase since 2010. And the last figures, there are 16.98 million vacant homes in the United States. And out of the 555,000 U.S. citizens who are homeless, 151,000 of them live in California. And California has 1.2 million empty properties they did in 2018, which is 9 empty properties per homeless person. That's kind of disgusting. I mean, there are places to put people. There are an abundance of places to put people. I shouldn't say place and provide assistance until they can get sorted. And I understand that mental illness is also a big factor in this, and maybe some of these dwellings can be utilized by the state to create a safety net for people, because it's a lot of empty dwellings.
Well, just that
16.9 million, 17 million empty homes, 17 fucking million empty places. We don't even have a million homeless people.
the property owners are looking for ways to make money, and there's no incentive for them to place people who aren't going to be able to in some way pay them in these homes. And then at the same time, that means that there's been no attempt in the past to create a precedent of state and private interests collaborating in order to create some kind of broad-reaching subsidy. I mean, there's affordable housing, sure. There are shelters, sure, but there's clearly not enough.
Well, it's just like in I think it's Oregon. They took something like, I think it was 30 million from the police budget that they defunded and put it towards housing homeless people.
Well, that's a precedent.
Oh, it was Austin. Yeah, they bought a hotel. No, it wasn't even 30 million. It was like 6.5 million. But yeah, they cut that money from the police budget and then bought a fucking hotel to house homeless people. It's like, it really is that simple.
Yeah.
But they make it out to not, like they can't fucking just move that money around.
It's not like that money even has to exist. They can just sign a check and hand it to somebody, and then the money doesn't actually exist. It only exists as numbers in an account. And these things are all just a reflection of the efficiency of an economy. It's not even like that money will disappear the second the economic activity disappears. That's how currency works. It's this. It always blew my mind. Like I understand like holding on to an investment, and if that's what it's designed to do, but investments are different. Investment economy is different from an active economy, a fluid economy where the only way that anything has value is if it moves. That a stereo sitting on the shelf in a store isn't worth anything until it's sold. Well, it's worth something to somebody, but it doesn't mean anything until it's sold. It's just sitting there storing its value, depreciating until someone takes it home. And at that point, from the time that it got put out on display to the point that it ends up in somebody's home, you know, the fluctuation of currency means that it may have gained or lost some value. Probably not too much, because I'm pretty sure the value of stereos doesn't fluctuate heavily. That's like a yearly thing that the prices of electronics seem to fluctuate. But you can't just sit on it. You can't just like hoard resources and expect economic activity to occur from fewer resources. You can't get more activity from fewer resources. It just doesn't work.
Well, and they've been trying to push that math for so long that Americans believe that it's possible, and yes, that just it doesn't mathematically work out.
You can't make a pie. You can't fill a 14-inch pie pan with the absolute minimum requirements to make a 12-inch pie. It doesn't turn into a pie. It turns into something else, like a strudel or something. No, not even a strudel. It turns into like a what are those things where it's like the filling is on the bottom and then they just put the crust on top. It's like a cobbler. Yeah, you end up with a cobbler. But that's still not a pie. Man, now I want some dessert.
Pudding.
Pudding? Well, that's like pie without the crust. Yeah, you can't make more from less. I mean, the laws of physics have to come into play at some point. You can't. We just can't. At a point that those resources have to be returned to the economy for economic motion to occur, for the economic engine to turn. We can't let people just hoard all of the resources. We need resources. We can't quite get out into deep within the solar system to collect all of that ice yet.
Will we ever?
Not at this rate, but if we ever manage to get out there, there's enough water for like 10,000 civilizations.
Yeah.
There's so much ice out there that it's silly to think that we thought that water would be a scarce commodity. Like water and hydrogen and oxygen are like some of those abundant elements, compounds in space. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in existence.
Another reason for the aliens to laugh at us and our rationale.
We think
they're concerned that they're going to run out of this?
No, they're laughing because we're worried about running out of helium.
No, that's really crazy because, yeah, like you're saying, hydrogen is the most abundant element, and then we can use it for energy. But we'll get 1,000,001 reasons why we shouldn't.
Oh, it's volatile. It'll explode. At the pressures required to utilize it, you're driving around with a bomb. But it's so fuel efficient.
Have they seen Teslas explode?
Those things turn into giant flames of aluminum.
So fast.
It's like fires you can't even put out.
Yeah.
They burn so hot, it just vaporizes the water before it even touches the metal. Like, I mean, I feel for the families of people who have lost people to Tesla fires, but you know, aluminum, when it burns, it's white hot and it's impossible to put out. There's nothing that puts it out. Absolutely nothing. I'm pretty sure it creates its own oxygen when it burns.
Yeah, and it's like there's all this fear of hydrogen cars exploding. Have you ever even actually heard of one exploding?
You know, that's the thing. I think I think the way that those tanks are designed is if they rupture, they don't explode.
Right, yeah.
They're like they've got a lot of layers, and then they're filled with compounds that when they come in contact with any of the other gases suspended between the other layers, they form a hard foam, a rigid foam that seals the penetration points. Like I saw pictures of the inside of an army fuel tanker, like the kind that they drive across land. And apparently these things get shot up all the time, like through Afghanistan. They would get shot up all the time, and they took a picture of the inside, and there are all these like long needle-looking structures from where the bullets went in, and it got caught by the compound and just pulled it through. But here's this like long spear-shaped thing coming through the end. They are puncture resistant. There's a way to do all of this stuff. It's just people with money and interests are preventing it. I think that's a tale as old as time. But even then, how are we supposed to? We can't make more with less. And they're just gonna. That's the real. That's what I think what it's boiling down to. From game stock to new technology to economic mobility of any kind. The more that we have to engage in austerity to fix a problem, the longer it takes for economic motion to resume. And I realize that I sound like I might be advocating for ending lockdowns, but I'm actually not, because the longer it takes to get to a stable place where we can actually end the lockdowns, the longer it's going to take for economic mobility to return for anyone. So it's like a lose-lose situation. We have to lose a little so that we can get back on track, so that we don't have to start up with even less. Does that sound crazy?
I mean,
Exceptional
you
Radio.
know, these people-
Exceptional Randos show is produced live in Sunroom Studios Base Capsule and in partnership with KLST 103.5, RadioCallisti.org. Remember to catch our Exceptional Randos live stream on YouTube every Sunday between 2 and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have a story, idea, or question that you would like to share, we want to hear from you. Thanks for listening.
Well, that was random. Exceptional Radio.